Hello everyone, here we are on set of Coffee with Kim, preparing for an incredible season 7. Join us. You're not going to believe who's stopping by for coffee.
And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day.
The people we love leave us many types of legacies after they die. Some legacies come in the form of cash, others as sentimental objects, others as wisdom passed along and cherished. Today's guest was left with an unusual legacy by her husband when he died of ALS a few years ago. He left her a war cry. Hello everyone and welcome back to Coffee, Conversations of Friends of Faith to encourage and equip. I'm Kim Crable, your host. Joining us for today's conversation is Shannen Fields, an award-winning actress, producer, and inspirational speaker. And after this short break, I'll tell you more about her, and we'll learn about this mysterious war cry.
Tune in on Mondays for the Coffee with Kim radio show with special guests and inspiring stories that are sure to make an impact. Search for Coffee with Kim on uptomeradio.com or catch it on demand on kimcrable.org.
Shannen Fields' dreams were launched with the Kendrick brothers' featured film Facing the Giants, where she was cast as the lead female role. Love that movie. She has appeared since then and starred in film and television projects for the past 17 years and also produced films. Recently, Shannon has been cast as co-host in the upcoming television reality show Rebuild and Restore with the PureFlix networks. Shannon has traveled internationally as a featured keynote speaker for various women and youth conferences, churches, fundraisers, and many, many other events. Her passion is to spread God's word and the message of her late husband, football coach Jimmy Fields, the one he left her in the form of a rallying cry he used with his teams. It's time to hear more about that cry and also about what the Lord has been teaching our guest about healing forward. Let's welcome to the show, Shannen Fields. Thank you so much for joining. You know how much I love you.
I love you too.
Shannon, ever since I saw the movie Facing the Giants and I saw you as Brooke, we were all changed by that movie. The inspiration, what you did, what was it like to be in that movie?
You know, that movie was really life-changing for me. It was one of those things where when I watch it, that's my hometown.
Oh.
That was my husband's football team. It was
I didn't know
it was
that.
my life, really.
Oh.
And so it was just kind of a neat thing to do with a church family.
Yes.
And God took something that, we just said yes to and just did something so amazing. More than we could ever imagine.
Yes, much more. And I just remember even high schools using it. And I don't know, your words, you just captured all of our hearts. I feel like, since I've gotten to know you, I feel like that there was a large part, that role that you played as Brooke, and you are a lot alike, aren't you?
We are a lot alike.
Yeah.
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 I put a lot of myself in Brooke. Mm-hmm. So I just played me, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I did.
I see that. And I had no idea that was your husband's team. And what the Kendrick brothers have done since then has been amazing.
Yeah. God's amazing.
Absolutely. Now, Alex Kendrick played your husband, and we kind of got to know your husband, in that role, but he's not your real husband.
No.
Let's talk about your real husband.
So my real husband is now my late husband.
Yes.
His name is Jimmy Fields, and he is walking and running in heaven now. He had ALS, and he actually was diagnosed March 6th of 2020. So 2020 was double whammies for us. So it was right there at COVID, and we were trying to figure out how to maneuver ALS and what does that mean, and what that is. It actually takes the muscles and just deteriorates them little by little. So we were pretty much in the fight of our life. And we did. We fought, and we trusted, and we prayed, and all of those things, and we learned a lot of things that I hope that I can share with so many, because my husband was not just amazing and inspiring, but he was the most, he was the person that was the most unselfish that I've ever met on this planet.
Wow.
And he showed that to me and showed me how to live right now, even without him.
So I've heard you say something twice. He was amazing. Tell us what was amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So this is what he would say. I'm a sinner and I just don't want to mess it up. Like he goes, I'm a sinner saved by grace. I just try not to mess this up. But what he did for so many people, he loved big. He loved people. He loved those boys. And it wasn't about the X's and O's. It was about come back to me in 10 years and let me see what kind of man you are. That's what he did day in, day out. And he played nose guard at Ole Miss, and then he worked at University of Mississippi, Alabama, and then we got married. I got married so young, and then we ended up, moving all over Georgia and Alabama.
So you're talking about how hard it was. Tell us a little bit about, you talked about when you got the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. And I know that's a horrid disease to have.
Yes.
It's a very painful. I've read a lot about that. So tell us a little bit about that, because I know a little bit. You were so open and shared a lot of it so that many of us could pray about it. But many of our listeners today really haven't heard that.
Yeah, so I try to put my journey on Instagram, not just to put it out there, but just to bring hope in the midst of a mess.
And
in
it
the midst
did.
of pain.
It did. Because people see you, as the actress and everything that you do. So allowing us to be a part of that really, I don't know really the word for it. It's just gratifying to be able to walk
To
your
relate.
real life
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, I get that. And that's why I do it. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
And I still will do that today.
Yeah, absolutely. So just take us in that a little bit.
Okay, so
Because you said you learned a lot.
I did. I learned so much. The key thing that I learned through the journey, and he had ALS for 11 months.
I know.
And that really is quick.
Yeah, it is.
And they say 2 to 5 years, but his was just shoo. So we were fighting. It's almost like we were trying to come up for breath.
Right.
So every time we turned around, he was a loss of muscle and this and that and all the things. But what I learned, like the biggest thing, it's God's hand was in it every step of the way, every little detail, everything to the point of when we were diagnosed, how we found the neurologist was amazing. I mean, he never stopped guiding us. The hand of God was never off. Now, God never promises us, like I really wanted healing here.
Yes.
I prayed for healing here on this side.
Yes.
He chose to heal him on the other side. And you think,
Yes.
Lord, after all the praying, all the fighting, all the believing, why?
Right.
Like, why? So then if I take my day, like today, and then I turn around and I look backward, and I see all the people that God put in our path, and then my children and how they rallied, how we rallied as a family. Even while my husband was as sick as he was, he still wanted us to take communion. He prayed over us, and he challenged us, if Jesus took him on, that we would live our life to the fullest. We would not stay in a grief. We would move forward. We would do what God has called us to do because life is so short. He still was unselfish. He was unselfish. And so he taught me how to be a little bit more unselfish in this world.
He just gave you so much, gave you permission to live.
He gave me permission to live.
And this heal forward, that I hear you talk about. Was that from him?
That was something. So I work with widows in my PureFlix TV show, Rebuild and Restore. And there's only 3 of those, but they are so full of hope and just so much, a lot of goodness in there. And then when I was just like working with the widows, this is before I became a widow.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't understand that I was cast in Rebuild and Restore before my husband became sick.
No, I didn't know that.
And then by the time we filmed the last episode, I became a widow. So during those moments, because there was a lot of moments, the very first one, he wasn't even diagnosed. The next one was my sister. My sister is also a widow. She lost her husband a year and 4 months before I did. So through it all, I kept saying, these women, they're healing, but they're healing forward. They're living intentionally.
Yes.
They're getting up on purpose.
Yes.
And saying, I'm going to do it. So they're healing, but they're doing it forward. They're not like, I'm going to sit on the couch.
Right.
I'm not going to move. Right. And you know what? There's a time to be. So as a widow,
right.
And if there's trauma, there is a time to just be quiet.
You have to grieve.
You have to
right.
grieve. I'm not saying move like speed past grieving.
That's right.
I grieved.
Yes.
I actually started grieving the moment he got diagnosed.
Yes.
That grief was it's called anticipatory grief, which a lot of people don't understand.
Yes.
So if they're going through that now, they may not understand what they're feeling.
Yes.
It is a form of grief.
Yes, absolutely.
But my heart and my life and just the way I'm made and the way Jimmy challenged us as a family is to never quit.
Yes.
Is to heal forward and just don't. You look back on the things of the good of life. It's so hard sometimes when you battle. That's why a lot of people need grief counseling.
Yes.
Because you start feeling guilt and you should have done this or that or whatever. And but as long as you're going forward.
Yes.
And progressing, whether it's with a counselor, that doesn't mean you're not. So all of these steps and things is what I call healing forward.
Absolutely, and that is such a godly perspective. Even with Jesus, as he knew his days were numbered. It says he got up and he faced himself toward Jerusalem, which was the future of where he knew he was going to be actually crucified, but he was moving toward what God's will was, whatever that looked like. Right. And so that is beautiful. You should put that in a book. I think
I'm working on it.
Are you?
I'm working on it.
That would be a great practical. I love the practical application of God's Word.
I do too.
And being able to live it out, live it forward. And so that would be just a great practical guide for a lot of people who, and counseling, and I'm a counselor, so I believe in counselors.
Yeah, I do
but
too.
a lot of times just talking and having a book, to help, that someone has walked through it.
Right.
And that's what gets my attention. You've gone through it. You've survived it. I want to know how.
Yeah, how'd you do
and
it?
That's one of the reasons we even do this show, is because I want to bring guests on like you who have gone through really hard times that without the Lord in your life, you may have not been able to get through it the way you did. And so that's hopeful, that's inspiring. Okay, so let's get to this beautiful war cry, this war win, because I'll tell you, Shannon, that is a life changer there. So tell us how it originated and tell us what it means.
So War Win is actually originated back when my husband was in college. That was kind of something that they did, that his coach did. But it was just War Win. They break, they get in the huddle and they break, War Win. So when my husband became head coach, he was like, I'm going to actually take this war win that means something to me, but I'm going to make it really mean something that people can take and just live it.
And hold on to it.
Hold on to it, and it's simple. So war is we are ready. So we are ready to do what? If you're not ready for the return of Jesus, if you're not ready to do what God's called you to do, you need to get ready.
Yes, and that's a big thing, because we're not confronting that question, am I ready?
Are you ready?
That's a biggie for all of us to ask. So that's, within itself, that's huge.
That's right.
Because that's only a question that I can answer within my life, and each of our guests who are joining us can answer in their life. It's a very personal question.
It is.
Yes.
It is. So war.
Yes.
We are ready.
Yes.
If you're not ready, get ready.
Right.
And win. Do what? To worship God, inspire others, and never, never, never quit. So we say war, win. I mean, that's that whole thing. So it was originally with all the boys.
Yes.
Jimmy would say war, and they'd all go win. And so now it's like, this is I'm going to carry it on because it's so simple.
Yes.
And I think it's just, we are like children sometimes. We need the simple things.
Yes.
To charge us.
Yes.
To challenge us.
Yes. Well, I think it's simple because we can remember it.
Can remember it, yeah.
But I think it's so deep as we try to live it.
That's right.
Right? Because when you think about that, worship inspire? I mean, when you think of worship, when Jimmy said that, what do you think he meant by that? How do we? That's a big word.
Yeah.
How do you worship?
So you worship God. There's so many. Worship God with your life, how you live, how you love people,
Yes.
how you walk it out.
Yes.
I mean, because there's so many things in this world that people, they just need to let it go.
We're worshiping everything else except
Let's
God right now, right?
Yeah, let's worship God. Let's worship the Creator that just loves us more than we know. That's one of the things that I learned. He does some amazing things in our life. Because why? Maybe not because I deserve it. It's because He loves us.
Yes.
He loves me. He loves me that much. And that's the one thing I learned that was profound. Because in my life right now, God is taking ashes and trauma and loss and turn it into beauty. He is taking this story that is so hard and having a redemption story. And I go, but God, I don't deserve it because I love you that much. And He loves all the people listening that much. And it's like, well, I don't deserve it. I've done this.
Right.
He loves you. If you will get that He loves you and He wants to do amazing things in your life, even though you've walked hard,
Yes.
He's got you.
And Shannon, don't you think that many times that we confuse God's love with an earthly love that has disappointed us?
Yes.
And just like in your case, it would have been so easy for you to say, but God, I have been a good Christian. I've tried to do everything. Look at Jimmy. Look at all that Jimmy was doing. It could have been so easy had you not had the focus of God in your life and God's will to really become angry and bitter. And I know so many people who, don't conceive when they want to conceive, or healing doesn't come. And so I'd like for you to talk about that for just a minute. How you overcome your personal disappointments to live out God's will when God's will is really not what you wanted at all.
Yeah. Well, I definitely didn't want.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want that. My kids didn't want it. There's so many things that we didn't understand. We still don't understand.
Right.
I'm not going to understand everything.
Right.
Until there's a new heaven and new earth. Then maybe I will. Maybe I won't care then. I don't know.
Right.
But I don't understand everything. But the key thing is I need to trust Him. I need to trust Him with my whole life, my next step, my journey. And there are times this last year that grieving put me on the floor.
Yes.
But then there was another interview. There was something. I'm like, I'm going to get up. This is not about me. I got to bring hope. I got to do it.
Yes.
And I struggled on some of them to get up to do it.
Yes.
But I'm like, I'm going to say yes to you, Lord, because I know that you're about hope and about healing in people's lives, and I want to be a part of it, even through my pain. So what I have learned from somebody so incredibly dear to me, and he said this to me, he said the two realities exist at the same time. And he said, you can take over here, you can have the grieving and the trauma and all of those things, but you can also dream again and have hope.
Yes.
And see, you can live those two things at one time.
Absolutely.
And that's healing forward.
Yes.
That's what that is.
That is. And you use that big word, trust. Trust the Lord with all your heart and soul and mind. Lean not into your own understanding, but acknowledge Him. And as we do that, and that's not easy.
No, and let me just tell you, you can scream, you can do whatever you need to do. I call it vocabulary words, cussing. I don't care what you do. God's not surprised by it all.
Right.
He does not look at you and go, "Oh, daughter." No, He loves you.
Yes.
Just talk to Him.
Yes.
Let it out to Him. Just let it out. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to yell. He's got you.
Yes.
He's got you in that state. He's got me in the happy state.
Yes.
That's because He loves us.
And more than anything, don't you think, Shannon, He just wants us to be real with Him?
He wants us to be real.
Yes.
Just be real.
Yes.
He knows that the hairs on your head.
Yes.
If you have to get on the floor and you have to scream and why and question, it doesn't surprise Him.
Right.
He knew Jimmy's day.
Yes.
He knew. He knew I was going to be sitting here with you talking.
Yes.
And He's like, Shannon, I got you.
Yeah.
But do you trust me?
Yes.
Do you trust me?
That's the question.
And I don't know. I know that there's more pain in life as long as I'm here, and I hate it. I don't want to do that pain anymore. I want to breathe. I want, trust me. Just trust me, Shannon. Get up, do what I called you to do today, and that's to go be on Kim's show and talk to her and talk to the audience that I'm bringing to her show.
Yes.
And bring hope, but trust me for today.
Right.
Try not to jump over here.
Right.
Because I got you over here. But let's do it. Let's do it right here.
That's right. The manna comes one day at a time, right?
day at a
What
time.
you need. The grace is
Yeah.
there when you need it. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, I have one more question and maybe a little surprise for Shannon. So we'll be right back. Burdens to Blessings with Kim Crable is a program that challenges women to discover the confidence and courage to stop hiding and show their true self to God and others. Because when you are real with God and each other about the hurts and regrets you carry, you will be showered with opportunities to help other hurting people change their burdens into blessings.
For me, it's been a place where you can just go and feel welcome, feel safe, feel like you can tell the group anything and nobody's going to judge, nobody's going to laugh. People are going to nod and say, I've been there, I've been through the same things. You just feel like you're not alone.
It's an opportunity to understand that you're not alone. You're not unique going through life unhappy or sad or hurt, or we're all in it together. We're all going through something, and it's an opportunity to open that door into the room you closed 15 years ago and peek into it and express how it's affecting you and what it feels like in a very safe, loving environment.
But I think everyone can benefit from just a pure human perspective to say, what is it that we struggle with as humans, not as Buddhists, not as Catholics, not as Christians, not as, Baptists, but as humans. We're all in different parts of our journey and different struggles, but that we do experience a lot of the same things, and that can bring us together instead of walking in judgment of each other.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. Oh, my goodness. Haven't you so enjoyed listening to my friend Shannon? I just thank you again so much. I know you're busy. You are healing forward and helping so many people do that. And your new show that you have on PureFlix, you're traveling and speaking. So it is an honor, my friend, to have you here.
Thank you. My honor.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. It really is. So, Shannon, I've listened to everything that you've had to say. I know you're sharing with us your life, the hurts and the pains. We've been through a lot as a country. We have a lot of hurt. We have a lot of pain. And the number one disease in America from a study is loneliness. So we have this hurt. It's compounded by loneliness. Yeah. I feel like it's just the enemy's playground. And I don't know of anyone else that I would rather have right here speaking hope to my friends who are listening today. So what would you say to those who are just so confused by life and hurt and pain and feel so alone?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that are alone. There's been a lot of loss. This past 2 years and stuff. And I've talked to a lot of girlfriends that they're in that stage of just they cannot hardly go forward.
Yes.
But I believe in counseling.
Yes.
And I know that if you need counseling, you need to go. It's so important to be able to go and to talk. So if you're at that point,
yes,
please go.
Yes.
And also find, your circle, whether it's girlfriends, whether it's your family, whether it's your kids. I don't know. Maybe if you don't have that circle, go to a church. Find someone that you can talk to.
Yes.
Just on a, like I have a coffee with or whatever, but also stay on your knees and pray. And do something for yourself, because a lot of people think that they just want to stay inside. So grieving is so different. Like I grieve differently than maybe my sister grieves. But I do know that people, loved ones, just having somebody that you can reach out to and talk to is very important.
Everything you said was about relationships. Go see a counselor, someone to talk to if you need it. Have a friend that you talk to, or a family, and then you ended it by praying that relationship with Christ, having that relationship. So it's all relational. It's not what we do. Well, I want you to know that in the relationship area, that everything that you do really is being heard, your war cry. I reached out to a couple of your friends and said, you know, I love to honor people when they come on the show. And I said, I want to know from your perspective, tell me about Shannon. And so I reached out to Cameron and BJ Arnett, who love you so much. And they said, Shannon is the real deal. She is a real sister and a real friend. And her life is all about helping others and helping others to be healed. And that you have always, will always choose Christ over your career. That is a big thing from big people to say.
Love them.
I know.
I love them. They are my brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people do love you, and you know that and admire you so much. And your life really is everything that your husband prayed it would be. And you are healing forward. And you're not doing it on your own. You're helping all of us to do it too. So thank you, friend, so much for joining us. And I'm just so thankful to you today for planning this. You know, it seems simple, but yet it's such a profound war cry in my head. I'll always remember it. War win. War
win.
There you go. War win. And I suspect that we'll be chanting those words many times to ourselves over and over in the toughest times when we want to give up, to remember Galatians 6:9, to not grow weary in doing good, but to keep on keeping on, that God will come through, not maybe in our time, but His timing. So I just want to thank each and every one of you again. Remember that when you need those words, to say it to yourself as you face life challenges and hardships. I mean, what a timely reminder. Don't you think, friends, that if we are not ready for what God is calling us to do, it's time to get ready for His return or whatever He has for us. And then, after today's great conversation with our beautiful friend, we know how to get ready, how to stay ready. Worship, inspire, and never, ever quit. Thank you all for joining us for coffee today. It has been such an honor, not only to have Shannon with us, but to have you with us. So I can't think of someone who would, if you can think of someone who could benefit from hearing what we've learned from Shannon today, please call them, reach out to them. Maybe they are just waiting for someone to realize how lonely they are. Tell them about what you heard here. And please join us again for our next encouraging and equipping coffee conversation. We'll see you next time. Bye, friends.